Yeah, we're good.
Aren't we always good?
No, we're
Always good.
What's up, man? How's your day? Jeremy Brand.
My day is... Let me just adjust that a little bit. My day's
Professor Jeremy.
good. Yeah, what a fucking turn of events, eh? Like, when I was on this show last, you were, like, not doing jiu-jitsu.
I was homeless jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. You were like, I want to get back into it, but I don't know how to. And now we're like 2 years removed almost, I think.
Yeah.
And you've been at Apex the whole time. You've competed under us and like a blue belt under
I'm in.
Apex.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
in. But fuck, you're more in than I am.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, man.
Oh, I do.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know, man. I'm definitely, I was going to say, yeah, right off the bat, thanks, man, for bringing me into the Apex family.
Hell yeah. We're glad to have you, man.
But yeah, man, how was your day? How's everything going?
It's pretty chill. Didn't do much. I'm off for the summer. I consider today the first day of summer vacation since yesterday was Canada Day.
Right. What'd you get up to?
Golfed yesterday. A good 4.5 hour round at a private course in Pitt Meadows. It was beauty.
Not bad.
What a day.
Not
I'm
bad.
exhausted today still.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning, I felt like a 75-year-old man. Ugh.
Yeah. We kept it kind of low-key. We did like a little bike ride to Steveston, got some
nice.
tacos, chilled on the beach.
I went to Steveston today.
Really?
Yeah, had some screamers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not far. Do you know the little Mexican cantina?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Grabbed some tacos there. Had them
Nice.
on the beach yesterday. Yeah, I woke up like early this morning, and like early for me is stupid o'clock in the morning. It was like 3:45 when I like just woke up, and I was like, fuck, my alarm's gonna go off soon, and I just like couldn't get back to bed. So like all afternoon I was kind of dragging ass, and then once I got home from work, I like took a little half-hour nap, had a snack and a coffee, and I'm feeling good to go now.
Good to go, and jiu-jitsu right after this.
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man. What's your whole take on the CJI thing? I know I was just...
love it, man.
Yeah?
I love it.
Wh-
And I did a video on it, actually, and I talked to my buddy Micah Brakefield, who trained out here. Now he owns 10th Planet at Tobacoke, and I sort of got his opinion, because he's competed against Craig Jones. They did Submission Underground against each other. And when you know, you and I actually first talked about it a little bit, and Brandon from the club talked about it, and it was like, initially it was called, you know, it might have been like, you know, BDCC instead of Craig Jones Invitational, but it was almost like it was a farce. Like, is this actually going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, holy crap. This year's ADCC, depending on the division, I think, because like 66 kilogram likely won't be affected much because those guys are a little far away from that 80 kilogram. So I think that division will be okay. But there'll be asterisks next to some of these guys' names that win ADCC this year.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's like some of the best guys in the world are competing at CJI.
Right.
So
I get what you mean.
It's lesser caliber guys at ADCC, right? So you're beating guys that wouldn't normally be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like your competition has been like kind of like filtered off
It's
already.
like B team competition.
Right. Dude, yeah. It's what's my favorite part about all of it is literally just the fans' reaction, like the fact that it has marketed itself.
100%. And it's everything. Craig going to back into the Middle East to, you know, talk about it and shit. It's like he doesn't even need to market it to the United States. It's doing it itself.
Yeah.
And almost in true American fashion.
Yeah.
It takes
absolutely.
an Australian to bring
Yeah.
America to America.
No, but yeah, for real. Because, dude, honestly, in the very beginning, I'm not even going to say like I've known about this story for years and years and years. I think I started following them when they split off from the Danaher Death Squad.
Okay, yeah.
And that was like, I don't know, 3 years ago?
Something
was
like
when
that,
I was
probably
like,
about that.
That was, yeah, when I was started doing jiu-jitsu regularly. It was like that timeline.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't really know. I kind of feel like these guys are a little bit cringe. And then slowly I've just been like, I love this.
They just
I
don't give a
love these
fuck.
guys. Yeah.
And that's what's the best about them is like, and their room is Like we've had guys from up here in BC head over there to train with those guys at B Team, and the room is like next level.
Yeah.
They just go balls to the walls.
Yeah.
And you can tell in their videos, like the amount of sweat these guys have on them is like that. Those mats must be filled with disease.
Yeah. And just like, dude, the amount of videos they have of people that just like their ego gets the better of them and they just get fucking injured in that gym. And it's just like, holy shit, dude.
And they just razz each other, which I love.
Yeah.
You know, like Nicky Rod bought a new Raptor truck. And Nicky Ryan's like, you fucking idiot. He's like, how much are payments? He's like $1,000 a month or something like that. He's like, fuck, you live in your brother's house and you're gonna pay $1,000 a month for a truck. He's like, I might just live in the truck.
Dude, they're legends. They're so fucking funny, man. Just all the videos with Gabby Garcia and the car that he was.
Like, what about that match though? Like. I can't, like, I see it, I visualize how it's going to play out.
I don't.
But I just cannot wrap my head around whether it's actually going to be, is Craig going to actually go full ham on her?
He'll have to.
He has to because she's huge. And I don't know, man.
He'll have to. Like, there's going to be no chance. Does he break her leg?
Well, I don't know if she'll tap.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Did you see the video of him in Ukraine snapping legs?
Yes.
What do you take? What's your take on that? Go to a foreign country.
Fucking tap, man.
Go to a foreign country and doing that.
Just breaking guys' legs. Dude,
the
guy's a legend, though. Second place machine, you know?
The best, that one interview where he's sitting there and he's like, look, I've been in this sport a long time, and to be honest, I've never won anything.
Yeah. 100%. And wouldn't it be funny if, and it'll never happen because he's competing against Gabby Garcia, but it would be hilarious if he did ADCC the next time around.
Yeah, because what do you think? Do you think that he'll do this every year?
Well, that's the plan.
Every 2 years, I guess?
No, he wants to do it every year. The plan is to have this guy, ADCCs every 2 years, like the Olympics. So he does want to do this every year is the plan. And if this one goes... It looks like it's going to go to plan. I mean, the commentary team,
it's next month, isn't it? It's August?
August, yeah. The same day as ADCC, which is, they had to do it that way.
Is it the second or third?
I think it's the third week.
16th or something like that? 18th?
Yeah, I'm not completely sure.
So, month and a half away.
Yeah. And I saw I said to Mike as well when I was doing that interview with him that ADCC... Gordon Ryan has now announced that he's doing a super fight on Saturday night and a super fight on Sunday night. I guess trying to take away from CJI because CJI is Friday, Saturday. So fans could still watch ADCC finals on Sunday and the super fight. So Gordon against Yuri was supposed to be on Sunday. Now he's fighting Felipe Pena on Saturday night to try and take away viewers from CJI, which will never happen because CJI is live and free on YouTube.
Yeah, and we've already seen him with Penn.
Yes, yeah, and it
was
smashed
boring
him
as fuck.
Yeah, and the other question is, what if he loses that?
To Pena?
I mean, what if he does though? Then he goes in on Sunday night as a loser.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a lot more ignorant to it than you are, but do you think he could lose to him? Because it seemed like last time he had tummy aches and he just ragdolled him.
He did ragdoll him.
And just mother's milked him for like 40 minutes.
Well, yeah, Felipe quit, without even being in a submission. He just verbally quit. Yeah. I'm done. It's not likely. Gordon's like next level, so I highly doubt that he would lose to him, but... The question is, it's jiu-jitsu, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
It would make the ADCC super fight on Sunday mean nothing.
Right. I just think that the fact that it's streamed for free on YouTube, I think
huge
is going to I think that's going to be a big
break
disruptor.
YouTube, man.
It's going to be a big disruptor.
It could literally break YouTube.
Yeah.
Like the bandwidth it's going to take to I mean, jiu-jitsu's not huge, but they're giving away $1 million.
Yeah,
Like,
and just the fact
that in itself will have people watching. Like, it'll pop up on the YouTube front page, and they'll see, you could win $1 million, and people will be like, "Oh, what's that?" And just click on it, right?
Yeah, and just the fact that literally what other than like local venues, who do you know ever that just streams for free live
No,
on
no
YouTube?
one. Exactly.
Even local vendors can't even do that half the time.
I know.
So it's like, who's doing that? It's like
exactly.
It's never been
Craig
done.
is.
Yeah. Did you see that? There was a interview where someone was like, "Wait, so that's what's going on?" Like they were like, "It's never been raised. The $10,000 has never been raised."
Yeah, there's lots of people who are confused by that.
And then they were like, "Does Dana White know about this?" Did you see that video?
No, I didn't.
They were there was like I can't remember who it was. He's like, "Does Dana White know about this?"
It's funny because Dana got asked about CJI in one of the post-fight press conferences, and he didn't know anything about it. He didn't know what it was, and someone explained, it's Craig Jones. He's putting on this competition the same day as ADCC, and they're like, "How do you feel about it?" And he's like, "Oh, I think that's a great idea." But like coming from Dana White, who hated every other promotion out there and bought them all up, interesting to see that he loves it.
Yeah, I think he just likes it because it's not like he's like it's like not in my backyard.
Exactly.
So I don't really care.
I mean, they do have a grappling event on UFC Fight Pass, UFC Fight Pass Invitational, but completely different scenario. It's not a tournament. It's super fights and.
Yeah, it's literally just like contracts, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like, "Hey, you versus you."
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that probably, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of like the rising tide lifts all ships. Like it's kind of like we're just gonna bring more money, more eyes to jiu-jitsu. So,
and if it is one and done, and it forces other promotions to raise the amount of money, then he's won.
Yeah,
he did what he needed to do, because arguably that's what it's about, right? Like he's giving money back with the charity stuff that he's doing for this, and then the
Miata.
Yeah, the Miata, exactly. Gordon Ryan's Miata. How the hell he got that? Whether it's actually it, who the hell knows? But it's still pretty funny. But like, if ADCC raises it, and then the question is, how much do they have to raise it to get rid of this?
I think there was an interview in the very beginning. It's probably like he wouldn't stand by this, obviously, still. But I remember there was like this video where he was like, if they had just raised it to 20, I would have.
Which is crazy, because I still think, like, I mean, maybe the last ADCC was the only one where they like broke even because they sold out the Thomas and Mack Arena
in Vegas.
And that's where CJI is going to be this year. Is at Thomas and Mack, and then ADCC is going to be at T-Mobile, which is crazy expensive.
Where's that?
That's in Vegas too. So they're both in Vegas.
Holy
side by side, basically. But
imagine how many lethal people will be in Las Vegas for that weekend.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be madness. But they sold out Thomas and Mack, and like if you saw ADCC last year or 2 years ago, it was a spectacle, and obviously production cost a shit ton, but they had to have made money off of it.
Yeah,
and none of that money went back into it. So this year, you'd think that if they saw they made money off of that, and then they turn around and they're doing this, and they're bringing in even more money with sponsors and the venue selling out and all that kind of stuff, why they didn't just raise it a little bit? I even think 20,000 is too little. Like,
yeah,
I liked someone's idea of every match. So every match winner gets paid. So in the first round, you get paid 10,000. You win the second round, you get 20, and it just keeps getting higher and higher as you make it through the bracket. So even if you win one round, you're still getting paid. I know Craig's paying everybody just to come, but that sounded dirty. But I mean, ADCC is so huge that it only makes sense. You're qualifying, you're making it. Craig's is an invitational, so I know there's sort of two different ships.
Yeah, I just think obviously the controversy, all of it. Like I said, I like the idea of like it just brings more eyes and more money to it all. And if you're a big corporation like ADCC, it's like you'll probably have to pay more. Like it's like the equivalent of a union, basically.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And Craig's formed this taking away some of the best talent from ADCC. Like the fact that the Ruotolo brothers and Mikey came over. Mikey hasn't done ADCC in ages, but the fact that Cade won ADCC 2 years ago, and now he's doing CJI is huge.
Yeah, I think there's people that are just getting involved at this point because they're like, I'm just.
That's what I was saying too. Like I mean, winning $1 million is huge.
Yeah.
But to add that to your accolade as well, like if you've already won ADCC and you go and win CJI, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's like a new tournament.
Exactly.
Okay, I can win that.
He's
Sweet.
got the one belt. He's got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, huge.
He's one of my favorites, dude.
I think that division, the under 80 kilogram division, is just stacked. Nicky Ryan, it's ridiculous. I'm excited. You live on YouTube, man. Like,
dude,
it's free.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's gonna be good. So when you have probably one of the busiest schedules out of anyone I know. When you're on summer break, does it slow down for you, or do you fill it up?
It probably gets busier.
You fill it up more?
I'm here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I don't try to fill it up. It just gets busy. Like I'm off, so I want to do stuff. I'll golf more. I'll try to train more.
Yeah.
I got hockey.
Yeah.
Just stuff. I'm not really reffing hockey much these days because they got enough refs, but that as well. And, you know, my kid's going camping this weekend, so I got her out of my hair. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess every time there's like, well, I don't know. With MMA Sucka, are you still like every single fight that goes on and every single
I don't do much of
promotion?
It anymore. I don't know if I told you this, but I told someone this. Like back in the day, it was just me, right? And there were other writers, but if I went and did something, like if I went on vacation or I did anything, I had to have my laptop with me to cover everything.
Yeah.
It was just me, right?
Yeah.
Now I have like a dozen, if not 20 writers for the site. So I rarely watch anything other than like the big UFC events.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do a ton of that. I've been actually getting more into doing just sort of content on YouTube, not necessarily interviews and stuff like that, but more so just, you know, breaking stuff down. Yesterday I did one about who should be next for Alex Pajeda. Like just little videos that I just pop up there just for fun. I've stuff that I want to do, not stuff that I need to do.
Yeah. And was there like a time that you just kind of shifted and did that, or did you do it naturally, or was there like a intent behind it? Just like fuck them and just do what I want to do?
No, when I had enough writers to take over from what I was doing, and sort of the shift on the site was, before it was we covered everything. We tried to do news, rumors, fight announcements, results, like everything. Now we've sort of, I wouldn't say watered it down, but just sort of had a focus on...
Alexa, stop playing music. Sorry, it's distracting.
It's all good. Maybe sort of had a focus on what's working and like
Didn't even
results.
work.
No, it didn't work at all.
Hold on.
Yell again.
Hey, Alexa, stop playing music.
Thank you,
We're
Alexa.
We're good. Sorry.
Damn Alexa.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wouldn't say it's watered down, but I'd say it's more focused on content that the writers want to write rather than what I was doing before. And when it got to the point where I could, you know, it's just streamlined into them doing stuff, I took a real back seat for maybe a year and a half, 2 years where I wasn't doing a ton. I'd do interviews that I was offered, like Bellator always sends out emails with fighters that want to do interviews and stuff, and I would do those, but a lot of the time it was like one every couple months, maybe two every couple months and whatnot. And then I was like, you know what, I'm enjoying being in front of the camera and just talking. And I know that's what you do too. You just sit there and you just babble and talk. And sometimes it turns into something great. Sometimes it's just whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I said, you know, I'm going to start doing stuff like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays and put a real schedule to myself where I was forcing myself to do it rather than forcing myself to do what I wanted to do rather than stuff that just needed to be done.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something. It wasn't me focusing or something or a tide turning or anything like that. It was just, you know what? I sort of want to do this.
Do you ever find like when you're doing that, like when you're say like you have a schedule like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're gonna sit down and record or whatever it is. Do you ever find like you're thinking to yourself, "Fuck, what am I gonna record about?" And then you're like looking up maybe like jiu-jitsu or
100%.
MMA news.
A lot of times I do that, and then there's some times where I'm like, "Fuck, I don't have anything to do." So, you know what? Maybe I'll push it to tomorrow.
Yeah.
But sometimes that sucks because you should keep it to the schedule that you have. Like if you have a loyal viewership, which sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, then they're looking for the stuff to come out on those days, right?
Yeah.
Like you have a set schedule. So let me ask you this. Do you, like we're pre-recording this, so this will come out, on a certain day?
Yeah.
Like a Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
But do you pre-record a huge chunk of things and then drop them, or?
Well, for me, I'm just shifting right now. I was doing basically like Monday and Thursday.
Yeah.
For every week.
So like Monday you had an interview, right?
Yeah.
And then Thursday you would do just episodes.
Usually it was the opposite. It was Monday I would drop my solo thing. Thursday I'd drop an interview whenever I did them.
Yeah.
And then if I didn't do one that week, it was just solo stuff Monday and Thursday. And I was doing the same thing that you're kind of talking about. Like it was like every weekend I'd have like a set time to record, and if I didn't have anything to think about or talk about, I would just like sit there with a journal and be like, all right, what can I pull out of like my life recently that I can talk about? And in the last like 2 weeks, I decided I'm kind of going to stray away from that and just go towards only doing like sit down and talk to somebody.
Nice.
And because it'll just force me to be more consistent with doing this.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I just felt like this is the reason why I started doing it.
Because you wanted to have
conversations with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I had a show called the Wonder Brand Show. And it was something that got away from MMA. And it was just, like popular culture, lifestyle, where I would talk to people from various realms of, humanity.
Yeah.
I talked to a buddy of mine that won Chopped Canada. I talked to a local professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Like just every element of life. And I found that cool because, and actually my one buddy asked me, dude, why are you doing this? Like after I talked to him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to hear your, like, I know you as a person.
Yeah.
And I've been friends with the guy who won Chopped Canada since like grade 4.
Yeah.
But do I really know his story? No. Like I knew his parents were chefs. I knew he grew up in that sort of industry. But why? And that's what I want to get to know. Like I want to get to know them as a human, but also humanize their story so other people can hear it.
Yeah, I know.
And it has nothing to do with me. Like that's the one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand. Some people get into this because they want it to be about them and they want to grow their channel because they want to be in front of the camera and be a superstar. I don't give a fuck about that. I want to get other people's stories out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the same way I think of it as well. Like I remember when I got like the first few like positive feedback messages for when I started doing this podcast, it was always things like, oh yeah, like I've felt that way before. I just didn't know how to put the words to it. And when this person said it like that, it like clicked for me or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, then that's what that is what I'm chasing after.
Dude, like, and I watch your episodes every week. And like there was that one episode and I actually think Aaron dropped it. The guy who trains at OG.
Yeah.
Where you just broke down.
Yeah.
Like how fucking humanizing is that? Like that's an experience in itself that you probably had no clue was going to happen when you had him sit down on this couch.
Yeah, it's funny. It was actually his podcast, but we filmed it here.
Okay.
And yeah, him and I recently have been like kind of linking up a little bit more, training a bit, and recording podcasts here and there. And dude, it was funny because I said to him, I'm like, dude, I haven't even cried on my own podcast, and I fucking cry on yours the first time I'm on it. But he's yeah, dude, and it's weird, and that's kind of what that moment in and of itself was what pushed me more towards, like, I got to get more towards conversations because I just feel like I'm more authentic and I'm more able to just like open up, because it's, you know, as well as I do, like even after years, when you're just sitting in front of your phone by yourself, or maybe like your girl sitting in another room and can hear everything you're saying and shit, like it's like kind of like like weird, like you feel 100%. Like you're performing.
Yes.
And just when someone else is there, it's like, okay, this is just talking now.
Well, we just sat down and started talking, man. Like, none of this means anything.
Yeah.
We're just sitting here having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so that's, for me, I was like, I feel like I got to switch more towards conversations in like with other people as opposed to just sitting down in front of my phone. Because I don't know as well, because when you're talking about like jiu-jitsu or MMA or anything like that, like you have an event that's specific, it's happened, everyone kind of knows about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like different to just be like, okay, I'm going to sit down and talk about like some sort of a lesson I've learned in my life recently.
Yeah.
And to just like consistently do that without kind of just beating a dead horse is almost like you almost get to a point where it's like the answer is almost the same.
Yeah.
All the fucking
or
time.
how many life lessons can you put out there that you haven't put out there already?
Yeah.
Right, like
especially as a 28-year-old.
Yeah. And I mean, there's infinite, really, but at the same time, articulating it is a different story.
Yeah.
Right? And do you think that you'll completely stop that then? And when did you make this decision? Because you've been putting out reels still.
Yeah, well, I'm going to still keep doing reels. It's funny because I've been doing social media completely differently in the last 3 weeks, and it was about like...
You mean like the weird little overlays that you have on some of the videos?
Oh, dude, I don't do a single thing. I'm distancing myself from social media as much as I possibly can, and I don't mind being like transparent about it.
Yeah.
If you're looking at my content, dude, like I throw that through like a AI clip thing. It fucking takes clips out for me, puts subtitles on, and then I have another thing like to schedule all my content, and I just have it fucking scheduled out for the week. I do it for like an hour and a half on Sunday.
Nice.
And then it just posts all my content for the week. And I just don't have to, I have a 15-minute timer on all my social media.
Yeah.
And that's it for the day. Like,
really?
Go on,
nice.
Share some stories, share some clips for the boys, and then fucking bounce.
That's brilliant.
So yeah.
How has that? I mean, that in itself could be a podcast.
Yeah, dude, it's funny because I just feel like I have this weird, like thing that I was saying with one of my buddies recently, because he was talking about, I have to build a social media for my business, and I'm like, I'll be honest, like I know a lot of people that run businesses that don't fucking have a social media, and they do really well. I think like I have this weird feeling right now. And maybe it's just because I'm not very popular on social media, and I've kind of like, people like to say they've been shadow banned because they're just not popular. But I'll be one of those people. I'll be like, yeah, I'm shadow banned.
Of course, yeah.
I can openly admit though, I'm just not popular on social media, and so like I feel like it's like a ghost town. Like it's almost like the views or followers or interactions I get on social media are not even like indicative of like podcast listens, or the people that I actually interact with on a daily basis that are like, hey, you're a good guy and I like you around. So like I'm just kind of at the point now where I'm like, I fucking spend so much time thinking about increasing my social media like exposure, but it doesn't really like do anything for me in my life. So I'm just kind of tired of it.
Makes sense. And the fact that you don't have to, and you have that scheduler and whatnot, makes it super easy. Indicative of the times, obviously.
Yeah.
But isn't it crazy that we're in those times where people are making millions of dollars off of social media?
Yeah. I said from the very beginning, and like I've always said this to, like I said it to my roommates when he would see, like my old roommate that would see me kind of editing all the time. I would always say things like, I'm only doing this until I can like afford to pay someone to do this for me. Because
and now you don't need to because you have AI.
Exactly. So it's like I don't like editing. I don't like fucking. I didn't get into this to edit clips to try and get trendy fucking clickbaity things.
Yep.
I didn't get into it to learn algorithms. I didn't get into it to fucking, be on social media, going on comment sections and building a fucking. I didn't get into it for that. That's actually what I want to get away from.
Yeah.
Like I want to get away from comment sections.
Of course.
That's where my brain rots. So it's like, I don't want to be there. Like I got into this because I like talking, obviously.
We know.
so like that's why I want. Yeah, that's just my philosophy on it. Kind of the same thing that you were saying. Like I'm just gonna do what I want to do. I don't want to fucking do this shit.
And that's the thing is that's what ultimately like it should be. Why would you be doing this if it's not what you wanted to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Like you got into it because you can talk and you wanted to get to know people, but then you sort of swayed away from it because you thought you needed to do more. So now you're going to dial it back to do just what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, even just the schedule of like, okay, I'm going to upload twice a week. I'm going to do Monday and Thursday. I'm going to do like, I thought about like, when could I get, when is a good time?
Yeah.
For it, like Monday mornings, obviously for like someone that's like self-development, mental health, like Monday morning's a good time. And then it was like, oh, I need a little pick me up before the weekend. Friday morning, most people are already lost. So I was like, let's do Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, everything was like methodical because I was thinking like, how do I make this like a better podcast that more people will listen to? Like everything was thinking about
overthinking though.
Exactly. And it was just like, wait, I'm doing all this shit, but it's not actually producing. So now I'm doing what I don't want to do, and it's not even producing the result that I'm sucking at something that I'm compromising for. And I'm like, I'm just going to not do that shit anymore.
Yeah. Why suck if you don't want to suck?
Well, why suck at something that you don't even...
Yeah.
Well, like, why suck at doing something that you don't even want to do in the first place?
Yeah.
Just do what you're going to do.
And suck at doing what you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Exactly. Like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally how I feel. I was going to ask you today, the funniest thing I was thinking about, I was like, oh, man, I wonder what we're going to talk about. Because I even think about that sometimes, but I try not to. I like to just have conversations. I don't like...
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, I don't like the whole pre-planned like questions and things like that.
I think I've told you this. Like when I first started doing interviews, I wrote down questions like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 question. You sound like a fucking robot, right?
Yeah.
For the last probably 10 years, I have never had anything in front of me when I've interviewed someone other than like their Tapology page.
Yeah.
And for that, I may get a 5-minute interview because the guy doesn't answer any questions properly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're getting genuine responses, and you have to listen to the person then. I'm not thinking, oh, fuck, what am I going to ask next? I'm reading the room, and I'm like, okay, I asked you a question, you answer it. I'm going to give my next question based off your answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's funny how even when you're aware of it, how much... like in conversation is just like thinking about the next thing you're going to say as opposed to listening to what someone's saying.
Which is so weird, right? Like,
yeah,
it's counterintuitive because you should listen and like respond to what they said, but you can totally tell when you're talking to people that just don't give a fuck because you're talking and they're answering or you're talking and they should be listening and responding to what you're saying, but then they say something completely out of left field, and you're like, did you just listen to what I said, man?
Yeah. I consistently think that all the time. I'm like, am I having a conversation with myself right now?
But I did interrupt you there. So you were going to say something about jiu-jitsu, I think.
Oh, I was going to say, what was I? Oh, yeah, I laughed to myself because I was thinking, I feel like I've been training for, I think, 3 years now. And I feel like there's so many times where like maybe I won't train for a week or something like that, or like a couple days goes by, and I just feel like, oh, I don't think I know any jiu-jitsu actually.
That's hilarious.
Did you ever feel like that?
Sometimes. I mean, I took like 7 years off though, man. So I felt like it was more like riding a bike, but riding a bike as a fat man after being super skinny.
Right.
Right? Like I knew what I should be doing, and then I'm like, fuck, I can't do that because I'm so out of shape right now. Or I just could do 1 round rather than like 10.
Yeah.
In terms of knowledge, like, it's tough. And jiu-jitsu, like I was saying, with you and your, life experience and whatnot, just like that, it's jiu-jitsu is infinite. Like, it's never ending. It's constantly evolving. There's new techniques. So almost everybody doesn't know jiu-jitsu. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, as much as you know, there's just as much that you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's arguably the same thing with life.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of weird. It is like the annoying thing is like you learn like a concept or a principle and you're like, okay, I've got it figured out. And then you're like, wait, that doesn't work all the time.
Well, that's the best because you get guys that come over from, like, we have a Fundamentals 1 class, and they come over to the advanced side, and they're trying to do what they learned in fundamentals, and they're like, fuck, I can't do this, man. It doesn't work. And then they come into the dressing room and they're like, oh man, that should have worked. I need to go on YouTube now. And I'm like, dude, you're training with guys who have trained for years. Even if they haven't trained for years, they've trained a hell of a lot more than you and sparred with more people than you have. You're never going to hit the move the way you learned it in F1 on anybody.
Yeah.
It's never going to be like, oh, I'm going to break the guy's posture. Oh, I'm going to step on the hip. Oh, I'm going to step over the head. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to go step by step like that. The beginning game and the end game are going to be the same. How you get there, the roadmap is going to be different.
Right. Yeah. It's there's so many times where, like, throughout my week, I'm like at work and I'm just like, fuck, this sucks. And then I'm like, at least I get to go to training. And
Oh, yeah.
it's literally like I even said it to Brandon one time. I was talking to him and I was like, dude, it's sometimes, as weird as it sounds, obviously no one that trains is going to think that this is weird, but anyone that doesn't is like going to be like, that sounds kind of fucking weird. But it's like sometimes the only thing I'm like looking forward to. You know what I mean? It's like
and
in a day.
And like, to sort of tweak that, like, even people who don't train might understand, okay, you're going to go get exercise and you're going to go do that. But to say, oh, fuck, I'm looking forward to getting my ass kicked tonight, that tweaking it would make people be like, what the heck are you talking about, man?
Yeah. People are like, wow, you've been doing that for years. You must be getting good. You're like, well, no. Actually, I suck. But no, it's funny because I was explaining it I was talking to, hold on one sec. I was talking to Teddy about it the other day.
Yeah.
Actually, it was like a couple months ago, and I was
hey,
like,
now you've trained longer than she has, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she's still a white belt.
There
so
you go.
I can finally say that. But no, I was talking to her about it, and I was like, between like getting your dick kicked in at work all fucking day, and like even saying this to my girlfriend, like, even like sometimes your girlfriend, your wife, your partner can fucking proverbially kick you in the dick as well. Like there's times where like consistently you're like, I feel like the world is beating me down. Like work's beating me down. I'm not getting the best luck in my relationship or in my friend group or whatever it is. But like, I know every single time I show up at jiu-jitsu, as long as I show up with like good intentions to learn and to try my best, all you're going to get is like, good job.
100%.
Like, it's the most supportive place I've ever experienced is in like a jiu-jitsu gym.
And the crew that we have is all good shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but I think,
and every gym.
That's what I was going to say. I think anywhere you go, like, it is like the most consistent place where like you're going to get people that are just like, I just want you to be better.
And it's different. And I feel like in that realm, it's different than any other martial art, really. Because other martial arts are so competitive with each other, I find.
I've never done any other martial arts, but
just from what I see, I mean, like karate and stuff like that, I feel like they're more. Well, they are more solo activities for one. Like, they're going through forms and stuff, right? So you're ultimately, I mean, jiu-jitsu, you're still ultimately fighting against yourself and trying to be better each day with yourself by beating other people up. But
yeah. But there's little things as well. Like I know for one thing that I'm trying to focus on right now is not stiffening up so much. And just like, it's something that I feel like probably I should have already have overcome, but it's also something that I just like consistently, like every time I'm driving to class, I'm like, okay, just relax, like just breathe, just relax.
Were you the one that sent me that real sloth jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
And the thing is I watch it and like, I think that guy calls himself sloth jiu-jitsu, but ultimately I watch that and I don't think he's moving all that slow. I just think he's chill.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he's not overworking, which is a great thing. And he's getting to where he wants to go. Like ultimately he seemed like he was a real good deep half player. But I didn't think he was moving like a sloth. Like in my mind, a guy that's a sloth in jiu-jitsu is sort of just like laying there and like letting the other guy do work while you're sort of just laying, you know. I thought that guy was brilliant, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
No wasted movement though. So that's where I think he got the term sloth.
Yeah, I think also just like this really like kind of like casual movements.
Yes. Yeah. And no wasted energy, which can kill you in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, the ability to like kind of and even we talked about it a lot last month. Just like that ability to switch between like stiffening up and just like being a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
There's so many times like even at work, like for example, like today, I'm like installing cabinets in a kitchen. I'm on a ladder, and I'm like kind of hanging off at this weird angle as I'm like putting a piece in. And after like a few minutes, I'm like, man, my leg is like cramping and jacked up. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like flexing that way too hard right now. Like just relax. Do you ever do things like that? Or you're like driving and you're like gripping the wheel too hard or something?
Oh
like
yeah.
That? You're
even
like, yo,
even
just
like
relax.
even like playing golf, right? Like you hold on to the club and you're like,
oh yeah, I guess that's another good example.
Holding it ever so tight where you're supposed to be just like loose like a noodle.
Yeah.
That game is the most frustrating fun game in the world.
Yeah. There's so many times like rolling with somebody that like I'm like completely outclassed by, where I'll like get stuck in a position and like it's like you get stuck, but you're just kind of like almost like being put to a test of like, are you gonna flail? Are you gonna like what's gonna happen? Like it's almost like a what's your move gonna be?
Yeah, choose your next adventure.
Yeah. And in those times, I'm like, man, like nothing's even happening. Why can't I breathe? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like flexing every muscle in my body.
That's funny because I remember not even just stiffening up or anything like that, but like being put to the test and being put in a position. And we have the fundamentals one side, like I said, which is more like street awareness and street defense and self-defense kind of thing. And there's a guy who was arguably much better than I was. And I think I might have been a purple belt at the time. And he was a brown belt. And he was just flowing through positions and not getting me, but like just moving and mount. He had the back. He'd get into modified side control and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I'm just getting worked. But you know what? I'm moving and I'm getting out of these positions and whatnot. And then the timer goes ding, ding, ding. 5 minutes is up. And I'm like, oh man, yes, I didn't get tapped out. And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, but I would have kicked your ass in the streets. I'm like, well, point taken.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I think the most humbling thing for me is like when you get caught by somebody and then you just like everybody stop, like you stop moving and he stops moving and you like look them in the eye and they like have a submission just sitting there and you're like, oh, I should have been tapping 15 seconds ago. This person was just so generous.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that's the best.
That's like the
most demoralizing at the same time.
Yeah, like literally the most humbling thing. And it's always
It's like a false positive too, though, right? Like you're like, oh man, I survived that. But did I really?
Yeah, no. You're like looking to, it's always like some sort of like baby bolo or something like that. And you like look down and you're like, oh, my heel. Oh, my knee.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Jiu-jitsu is crazy.
Yeah. So with summer here, you said your schedule just gets more and more jacked up. Do you find that, because I feel like probably having like work every day is one of my biggest excuses to not do shit. And people are like, oh, do you want to do this? I go, no. I go, why not? I go, well, I have to get up for work tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Do you feel like it's like more of like you just say yes to everything that comes forward to you?
No, definitely not. I said yes to this.
Yeah, I timed that purposely.
Well, I had to make sure, sometimes I'm like, does it have to be on the weekend, whatnot? But no, and I feel like because I have all day to like do stuff at the house, hang out with, the family at home, that I don't feel so bad doing stuff at night. Yeah. Whereas when I'm at work all day and then I come home at night and then I make dinner or we eat dinner or whatnot, then I'm like, I got to go out. And then maybe I'm out 2-3 nights a week. And so in the summer, it makes it easier because I'm present during the day and I don't feel bad about being, out at night. Still, it can be tough and it takes up time and whatnot, but I don't say yes to everything.
Yeah.
No. And to be honest, I actually hate summer vacation. 2 months off, everybody's like, oh man, you're so lucky you get 2 months off. But I like the consistency. Yeah. I like having, day in, day out, same thing going on, routine. It's just so normal. And then you get 2 months off and you're like, the first few weeks, you're like, what am I going to do with myself? And then the next thing you know, it's September already.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. I just feel like sometimes myself, like there's times where I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that on the Saturday. Oh yeah, I can do that on a Saturday. And then I said yes to like 6 different things. And I'm like, fuck, I thought it was going to be like free time. And now I actually have more shit to do when I'm not working.
Yeah, I try to spread myself not as thin as possible.
As thick as possible.
As thick as possible, exactly. Yeah. Not overwhelm myself. It's tough though, man.
Yeah.
It's tough.
How do you dude, how the fuck do you even how do you even do everything?
Like tonight I have jiu-jitsu, right? So we're doing this. I got jiu-jitsu. Tomorrow, luckily, I have nothing planned yet. Stuff always pops up.
Yeah.
Thursday I have hockey. Friday I'm not sure. I think I'm going to head down to the trailer down in the States. We'll see. I don't know, man. And then next week I put together this grappling event with Battlefield called Battle Mats, and that we got the weigh-ins on Monday. We got the event on Friday. There's a press conference for Battlefield on Monday. Like it's just everything is blown up, man.
What's going on with that?
So Battle Mats is something so I had the president of Battlefield on my show when it was fight month. What month are we in? June right now. July.
No, it's July.
They had an event in May, I think. April, May. And I had him on. We do 3 questions with the president. So I have him on weekly in during fight month. And one of the questions I asked was, will you ever bring grappling back to Battlefield? Because there were a few events there where they had grappling in the cage. And it was not the biggest spectacle by any means because the rule set was really weird and whatnot, but there were people that wanted it back. And so he said, I don't know, you never know. And then so I presented it as, you know what, grappling has blown up in the last couple years. There's Gordon Ryan who's doing what he's doing. ADCC is selling out. There's gyms on every corner these days. It's just blown up immensely. And he's like, all right, let's do it. Battlefield Fight League 81 will have grappling on it. And then we got talking, and we're like, why don't we put together an 8-man bracket, and then the main event, so like the finals of the bracket, will happen in the cage at Battlefield Fight League 81. So we've got next Friday, well, depending on when you're listening to this, July 12th.
It'll be like a week ago from when this is posted.
Okay, so July 12th, depending.
Yeah.
July 12th will be Battle Match. It's going to be on pay-per-view. And it's an 8-man bracket. We got an alternate match, and like some of the best Nogi grapplers in the city will be in this 8-man bracket. We got Matt Kwan against Jordan Stutt. We got Lucas Wilhan against Janik. Don't know his last name. Can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
From Roll. We got Daniel Richard against Cajun Johnson. Cajun, former UFC fighter. Got an interesting, weird jiu-jitsu grappling style.
Is that to do with the mullet?
Cajun? No, he's got like dreads.
Oh, okay.
And he does sort of anti-jiu-jitsu. He's doing primal grappling is what he's calling it, and it's the weirdest. It's
like
just
Dylan.
No, it's not even close. Like, yeah, he would message me, and he wants to know every illegal move so he doesn't get disqualified. Like, he wants to go. If it's not illegal, he wants to do it.
Okay.
And so that's a match. And then the final match is... Who am I missing? Slipped my mind, but that's okay. And then we have Zach Clancy from Kazushi against Mike Creedle from Revolution Mission as the alternate match in case someone gets injured. And then they can be the DC, Daniel Cormier of the tournament.
Dude, that's how cool.
And it's going to be so cool, man. Like, it won't be free on YouTube, but it's going to be super awesome. The fact that we've got this, it's the poster that's on Instagram. Like, I know you're not gung-ho on social media, like you said, but super cool poster. The event is going to be awesome. It's got 40 tickets that are VIP tickets that are going to be for sale just to come watch it. And then, yeah, I'm super stoked. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. How cool is it to think, like, when you start, how long has it been since you started MMA Sucka?
2009. November 29th, 2009, I started MMA Sucka. I started training jiu-jitsu 3 years prior to that.
So 15 years ago?
Yeah.
So 15 years.
In November.
So how cool is it to think that 15 years ago, would you ever believe that you're, like, helping organize and promote local grappling events?
I'd say even longer ago than that. Because I started training jiu-jitsu in 2006, and then I took a long hiatus, right? But so I was immersed in the jiu-jitsu scene back then when, like, these guys that are in this event weren't even around, really.
Yeah.
A lot of them started training after that. Like, Lucas Wilhan came from Montreal, so he's been training quite a while. But yeah, to think that I'd do this is like, it was a pipe dream. It was not even in my thoughts, probably. Me and my buddy Trevor, who used to be Trevor Duick, used to be one of my partners at MMA Sucka, had always talked about, maybe running an MMA event. And then you see what goes on behind the scenes, and you're like, that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we actually ended up making a documentary, and he trained and he fought an MMA fight. And so it's on, I don't know whether it's on YouTube or Vimeo, one of those websites, but it's called Fighting Ambition.
Pornhub.
It could be. I never know.
Dude, that's so sick, man. Did you ever even think you were, like, when you started jiu-jitsu, did you think you'd ever even be a black belt? Did you have that in your vision? Or?
Dude, when I started jiu-jitsu, there was like 4 schools locally. Like, it was us at Gracie Baja, Vancouver, West Coast on Whitfield, Marcus Suarez, and then the gym out here, Megaton. Like, literally, that was it. There was nothing else around.
Yeah.
There was MMA gyms that trained grappling, like Franco Gibson's was together back then. But the fact that there were 4 gyms, there was probably maybe 10 black belts locally at that time in 2006. Like, it's crazy. And to think that the sport and the evolution has come this far, did I ever think? I had always hoped that I would. when I took that hiatus, I was like, am I ever going to get back into it? And no, I got to thank my brother-in-law for that, because he started at Apex, and then he's like, you got to come back out. And Milo and I had known each other from Gracie Baja, and like the rest is history. Gave me my black belt. No, I didn't really think so. Not when I took the time off. At the start, for sure. Right? And you always think at the start, okay, I'm going to make it. But after I had my blue belt and 2 stripes and then took 6-7 years off, I didn't think I was going to get back into it at all.
What made you kind of take that time off?
Well, I had Malaya was born in 2009. And at the same time, my stepdaughter had thyroid cancer. And so just life came up.
Yeah.
And so I took time off, and I would train here and there. I'd go to West Coast with Don Whitfield. It was just up the road on Kingsway. I trained like once every few months kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was about it. I tried dabbling here and there, but never consistently. Never. Like when I was at Gracie Baja, I was teaching the kids class. I was teaching, helping teach the kids class, and then helping do the beginners class as a 2-stripe blue belt. And then when my stepdaughter had cancer, I could only train sporadically. So I had a falling out with the owner, and that sort of kicked things into like perspective, where I was like, you know what, this just isn't for me right now.
Yeah. It's kind of weird how that can.
There was a lot of drama back in the day, man.
Yeah,
and even there's drama now between not as much, but in terms of politics and drama between clubs, and there was no cross training, man.
Yeah,
you couldn't cross train at all. Like, there was no YouTube with videos and free tutorials or even tutorials online. There was like, what's it called, Gracie in Action DVDs,
right,
stuff like that. You had to have a physical DVD to watch it.
And they come in the mail. You have to order
exactly.
eBay and shit.
And I think Stephen Kesting did have stuff, but his were DVDs as well. But God forbid you took the technique that you learned at our gym and took it to another gym.
Right.
Like, that was one of the falling outs I had was, so MMA Sucka had started to grow, and we had a live podcast, which was like unheard of at the time other than Sherdog, where we did it live and took guests. Like, we'd have like Frankie Edgar on and like some big names back in the day, and take the calls live. And then we got approached by this guy that was building a gym. He was coaching the high school wrestling team, and he wanted to start an MMA gym, and he built it on Kingsway. And it was like it's still a Legion actually, and it was a huge building. Built a gym, and he goes, "You guys can have a room in the building to do your podcast." And I was like, "Dope." So we did the podcast out of this studio in the gym, but he also had a jiu-jitsu class going on that he wanted to promote, and he's like, I know you train jiu-jitsu, can we use you to take photos and stuff? So I had a plain gi, no GB on it or anything. I had a plain gi, and myself and actually Cajun Johnson, speaking of, he was doing their jiu-jitsu program there, did pictures that got posted online, likely on Facebook, because there was nothing else back then. Maybe MySpace or something. But got posted, and I got a phone call from the owner of the gym saying, "What the fuck is this, man?" Like, there's no... And it was literally just photos. I wasn't training. I wasn't doing anything. But, again, God forbid you cross-train back then. Whereas now, man, there's open mats all over the city. You could go to any day you want.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, well, I don't even know where it all comes from, but I think that it doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, as long as, I guess it's always like a sticky situation with loyalty and people once they get to a higher level.
I think that, I do think loyalty comes into play. I think so long as you have, in my opinion at least, so long as you have a home base, and you consider that your home base... then who cares if you go and you train elsewhere? Arguably, you're going to learn stuff from those other places and bring them back to your club. right? Like,
Yeah.
what harm is that? And like I said, like everything is on YouTube these days, so you're not teaching them anything they wouldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that a lot of it probably comes from like a lot of the local gyms just like trying to protect their like they want to I guess it's just I guess it comes from like kind of ego, but
So, like, I'm really good friends with Matt Kwan. He owns On Guard Jiu Jitsu out in Pitt Meadows.
mm-hmm.
And his philosophy in his head is, if you go somewhere else and they're teaching stuff that's going to work for you better than it does me, than I am teaching you, why wouldn't you go train there? You're a paying customer. It's a business. If you're not getting what you want, like if you go to McDonald's and you order a burger and you don't like that burger, so you go to Wendy's the next day, is McDonald's going to be mad at you?
Well, yeah, they might.
Probably not. They're a big corporation, right?
Right,
like,
right.
At the end of the day, I mean, you're going to pay for what you want to get.
Yeah, I get what
and
you
that's
mean.
where I think, like, the water shouldn't be muddied in terms of, like, I should be proud that you want to go and get better.
Yeah.
Right? And I shouldn't be mad that you left because you think, there are greener pastures elsewhere.
Yeah.
There might be for you. You might not learn the way I teach. You might not learn the way someone else teaches. You might learn the way this guy over here teaches. It doesn't mean that you hated us.
Yeah.
Right? Like, at the end of the day, you want to get better, and if you're going to get better under someone else's tutelage, cool.
Yeah. I guess maybe bad blood comes from like when people are, if they switch gyms or something, like I guess maybe how they leave or like what they say or like I guess.
Like if they trash talk the gym, like, dude, I wasn't learning anything here. This gym sucks, so I'm coming here. Maybe that makes sense. But again, at the end of the day, everybody that trains is a paying customer.
Yeah. I just mean, well, yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? Like
No.
that sometimes that doesn't sink in the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah.
They think, oh, you're training here, this is your space. Like
it's actually that like your customer doesn't owe you. You owe it to your customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get that, dude. I think that I guess where I would see frustration is where I see it in the rest of my life in general. In just that, like, for example, like, if you have, like, an employee or something like that, and they're kind of, like, calling in sick or fucking the dog, and they're kind of just, like, instead of just being like, hey, I fucked up, or hey, I want to do this, or I want to do that, there's always, like, this weird, like, dance and run around of, like, dishonesty, and you're just kind of like, yo, just be honest with what you want.
I get that. I get that.
Tell me that
for sure.
Like, just say it.
And there is no problem in approaching somebody. I think the problem at times is some people feel like, I think it's this day and age, man. People are, it's the younger generation too, right? Like they're scared to say anything. It's that woe is me mentality.
Yeah. Or just like kind of like a fear of confrontation or again, I don't know. I just feel like if your intentions are honest, like I know that I've changed gyms. I'm on my third gym and I've only been training for 3 years.
Yeah,
so,
I trained at 3 gyms too. I mean, if you count West Coast, it's like just sort of dabbling. But at the end of the day, you find the space that works best for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even the teaching. Sometimes it's the environment, right? Like sometimes the crew around you is what you want. Like some people aren't there. There are people that come and train with us at Apex that I guarantee you are there because of the people that are around them and not necessarily the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, 100%. It's literally just because, and I think that because jiu-jitsu is one of those things, I think any martial art, but jiu-jitsu is so like intimate, like you get so close to people that like if you are averse to that, like I think that, like there's a lot of people in our gym that like in the beginning stages of their jiu-jitsu journey and you like look at them and you're like, they wouldn't be in an environment like this unless it was here.
100%.
Like it's just like such a welcoming, like friendly, like almost gentle introduction.
Very much so, especially, and you don't even need to have a gi on. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're not. yeah, the introduction is very, very welcoming. And I mean, to be honest, like Marcy and Milo at the front welcoming you in is just a nice like they're the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that when even like with the first time I had like quote unquote left a gym, I was just like, hey, my buddy moved to town and he trains at a different gym, and so I'm gonna go train with my buddy because he's my buddy. Like,
Fair enough.
but then coming into Apex, there was like no like aside from you, the reason I joined is because it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be able to get here and I'm gonna be consistently training, and that was
Yeah.
kind of like the main thing for me was like as long as I can like geographically get there within like 15 minutes after work when I'm like, fuck, I'm too tired. I have every excuse in the book. If I'm like, dude, it's like 11 to 15, maybe 20 minutes with traffic, I can get there.
Yeah.
There's no fucking reason not to train. Like even when I said to you, if I'm going to get back into jiu-jitsu, I need to be training multiple times a week. Like I'm just like that. I have to be that way. And so that for me personally was like, I just need to get somewhere that I can get to.
And you got there, man.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Do you you're teaching class tonight. We'll wrap this up pretty soon here. Do you when you
What time is it? 6:12. We got a bit of time.
Okay. When you teach classes, like when you started to teach,
Yeah.
where were you? Were you blue belt, purple belt?
Yeah, I was well, I think I had just gotten my blue belt actually, and I was helping out with the kids program at Gracie Baja. And then one night I got I was the uke quite a bit during those days for the beginners class. And then one night the guy couldn't make it to class to teach, so they were like, hey, can you take over? And I was like, sure. Which is weird because I was a blue belt and there was like purple and brown belts even in the beginner class, and I'm like, dude, I'm just a blue belt, man. Like, but I don't know, I guess I just had it sort of in me. I liked being able to immerse myself in that and just sort of take over.
Do you ever have like imposter syndrome or anything like that when it comes to instructing or teaching or anything?
No, I mean, I work for the school board, right? So I'm always around kids and teaching and trying to do stuff there. So I don't come into this thinking I'm somebody else or trying to emulate somebody else. And I think that's the difference is like I had someone message me the other day and they were like, yeah, we want to start coming to your class more, but we have school. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, so at summer vacation, we want to start coming to your class more because, you teach some of the stuff that other people don't necessarily teach. And it's like, okay, so in itself just sort of shows that I try to keep up with new school sort of techniques. And not that we only teach old school stuff, but I try to, I see what other people are teaching or I hear what other people are teaching. I try to just sort of not, and that I guess you say, do I have imposter syndrome? Well, it's almost like the complete opposite. Like I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to teach the same thing that other people are teaching. I want to sort of get outside of that and teach something like, oh shit, we haven't seen that before. And I do privates with a buddy of mine who trains elsewhere, and there would be times where I'd be showing him stuff and like sometimes super simple stuff, like just like live toes or, that'll help you drive your shoulder pressure when you have cross face and whatnot. And it's like, poof, mind blown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like just little things.
Yeah, I guess what I meant was like when you first started, was there any part of you that was like, I don't know if I'm qualified to teach
100%, even upwards of like a couple years ago. Like I was a purple belt when I started teaching at Apex, and I'm like, like Max is there and he's a black belt. And I'm like, why am I teaching this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I mean, I've been on the mats a long time. I do my homework. I'm constantly watching video and studying and keeping up with the times. And I just love jiu-jitsu, man. I try to immerse myself in it as much as I can. If I'm not in class, I'm watching like Gordon Instructionals or any of these guys. I'm on YouTube. I subscribe to multiple online academies. Like, just try to. So, not necessarily. I did feel, in terms of belt level, maybe, like, why am I doing this? but not in terms of what I know. Like I feel like I'm a better instructor and coach than I am an actual practitioner.
Really?
Yeah.
Why you do? Well,
I don't know. I mean, like sometimes like watching myself on the mats, like I filmed myself or even at competitions, like yeah, sure I win sometimes, I lose sometimes, but I feel like I can relay a message to people when I'm coaching, or I can see what they're doing and tell them what they should be doing by visualizing and seeing what they're doing more than myself doing it. I don't know. That's the way I feel. Sometimes I'm like that with other sports too. Like with hockey, I'm like, I know exactly what we should be doing and I try to say it. Sometimes I don't say it in the nicest way. I get like, I'm loud on the ice rink or on the
Right.
floor or wherever I'm playing.
who you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. and like even last week I was like yelling and this guy's like, shut the fuck up, man. I'm like, dude, we're on the same team. You want to just fight now or what? Like, he's like, I don't care. I'm not scared of you. I go, okay, man. But seriously, like, I'm just trying to give you some constructive criticism here. Like, I know what went wrong out there and how we could have fixed it. Just fucking listen to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, just shut up. I'm not listening to you anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't need to listen to me. And then after the game, we had a beer, talked it out and whatnot. But like, he said, if you articulate it on the bench rather than on the floor, it's much easier to understand because you don't sound like as much of an asshole. But I just feel like in a lot of things, and it might be due to working in the school system maybe and working with people and being able to teach, I do feel like my teaching methods and instructing are better than the way I play or the way I perform.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also just like having that kind of perspective of like not being in it.
Yes.
Right.
Like I could sit on the sidelines tonight. Like that's the one thing I hate about teaching is like if there's an even number, I don't get to roll.
Yeah.
And Milos always told me, don't just get in there and roll, make someone else sit on the sidelines. And I'm like, but they're paying customers. Like they're paying to train and I'm teaching. Like I can't force someone who's paying to sit on the side. I'll just sit on the side. But oftentimes when I'm sitting on the side, I'm actually watching people train and I'm seeing what they're doing and I'm understanding their game. And I can really sort of, I'll sit there and I'll coach guys through their rounds. And I see stuff that they don't think about or they don't see. And that's where I feel like I can further myself in terms of like my knowledge, transfer that on to other people.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that you've gotten more out of it from coaching and instructing or actually like doing it for yourself? Like if
I think it's a bit of both, but I think that you become a better jiu-jitsu player by coaching because you have to really break everything down. Sometimes you just do things to do them. You don't really understand why you're doing them.
Yeah.
I have to understand why I'm doing everything if I'm going to teach it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because the questions come out at the end. I'm teaching and then some guy asks, why are you doing it that way? Like, why do you put your hand there? Or why are you grabbing the grip that way? I have to have an answer.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I don't have an answer, I'll just say I don't know because I don't want to make it up. You can't just lie in jiu-jitsu, otherwise you're good. Right? So I feel like I have to really understand what I'm teaching, otherwise I can't teach it to the ability that I want to, because then you guys aren't going to understand what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
In a way that I want you to understand it. Like I could just show you guys anything, but I try to teach only what I use.
Do you ever feel like, well, I guess there's obviously times where you're like, oh, I can't show this group of people this thing. Maybe they're like, it's like too simple for them, or maybe it's too advanced for them, or whatever it could be.
I do read the room for sure. Depending on the class that we have, like I'll come into class with multiple ideas for lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and then depending on who's there, it could sway it a little bit.
Yeah. Do you feel like ever, like I feel like there's like kind of two schools of thought. Like there's like the whole like, oh, we don't teach certain like moves or techniques or principles until a certain level, like leg locks or
I
something
don't agree
like
with that at all.
Okay.
I'm of the opposite mentality. I think everybody should learn it from the very beginning. I think like kids should even be learning leg locks.
Even if it's like illegal to do in competition
100%.
at your level?
100%. Because you as a blue belt can't do much other than straight ankle locks.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, white belts can do straight ankle locks. But as you're progressing, there's other things that come into your toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
And so say you get to brown belt and you can knee bar now.
Toe
hold and whatnot, right? So you can do those things. And you haven't learned them until you became a brown belt. But you're competing against a guy who learned that as a white belt. You're fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like you should ultimately be learning it from day one so that when you get to that level, you understand it and you know why, like how to defend it, how to do it, where to get to. Because there are gyms out there where there are kids training heel hooks and whatnot. Like literally 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds that are learning leg attacks.
Yeah.
And we have everything up until, not us, I'm saying just like there are gyms out there that don't teach leg attacks until it's legal for that belt level.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right? You're putting blinders on yourself until it's legal. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Because there are also tournaments and competitions where maybe at your belt level it is legal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Things,
like certain
no
things.
gi stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that even for myself, just like having like a little bit of exposure to it now, because like as you like one of the cool feelings is when you get your ass beat a little bit more, you're like, oh, guys are thinking like I'm worth beating up now. Like
Yeah.
And so like you start to get caught in certain things that no one would ever have caught you in before, and you have those moments where you're like, oh, if I keep rotating, I'm going to snap my leg.
100%.
So,
and a lot of the injuries that happen are caused by yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, guys rolling a wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that it's like, even just learning to just stop moving. Like,
yeah, I think I heard an interview with, it was something Craig said, and this was years ago that I heard him say this, and it was something that they do at his gym. And I try to tell people this in class when they're rolling or when they're training or when they're sparring. And he did it with heel hooks and leg attacks, where in his gym at the time, he would have someone in a heel hook and they would tap immediately. And he's like, why did you tap from that? And they're like, well, you had me in a heel hook. And he's like, so he instilled this principle where if I put you in a heel hook, you can tap right away. But then we're going to put you right back into that heel hook and see how much further you could have gone with it. That way you're both learning to know, you as the defensive person, how much more you could have taken before you had to tap. Mm-hmm. And me as the offensive person will know whether I had to dig correctly or whether I had to readjust or how much more pressure I had to put on it to get the tap. And that doesn't just work for legs. It works for like rear naked chokes. It works for arm bars. It works for any submission. Mm-hmm. So if you take that principle, and even if your partner doesn't think about it, if I get into it, if I'm rolling with you and you get me in a rear naked choke and I tap right away, I'll say, hey, can you put me back in that? I want to see how much more I could take. Mm-hmm. It's so brilliant from a learning perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Little things like that. There's always like, I don't know. There's certain positions where I'm like very comfortable. Like even last week, someone asked me like, why do you just sit in that? Like, why the fuck do you do that? I'm like, because I want to know what it feels like. And I know that like for so many times, yeah, like I just want to sit there and experience like what it feels like, how
to go to sleep.
Well, no, I don't want to go to sleep, but I just want to get close. Like I just want to know how, like if I were in that situation, how close can I get without?
I've tried to do that a few times and then woke up.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I have.
Right? Sometimes you're like, okay, how much more can I take? Fuck. Where am I? That was the best one. One of our guys got me in a bow and arrow choke, and I have it on video, actually. I could probably find it on my phone. But he got me in a bow and arrow choke, and I tried to do this, like, balloon parachute sort of escape thing, and I was out in his lap. And you see him in the video. It was in slow motion and everything, and he's like... and then he's shaking me, and I wake up, and I rip off my gi jacket, and I'm like, get the fuck out of my bedroom. Why are you guys all here? They're like, calm down, man, calm down.
That's hilarious, man.
I had no clue where I was. I didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
Dude,
so
that's
good.
the greatest.
It's the weirdest feeling waking up.
Yeah.
Because you have no clue.
Oh, dude, I watched a video today. It was, I don't know if you've seen this, but it was like this, like, probably like this 5-6-year-old girl, and then like this other guy who's like a full-grown man.
Yeah.
And the caption of the video was like, oh, this girl had told me that she didn't believe that she could choke out an adult.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's like the gym owner, one of his students, and then like this little girl. And then the gym owner's like coaching her through it. It's all in Portuguese. And like, he's basically saying like, okay, like, do this, do that, like, do this, like, cinch that. I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I don't speak Portuguese, but I'm just guessing.
Yeah, yeah.
And she puts the guy to sleep. She's like this little like 6-year-old girl puts like this full-grown man to sleep. He goes out and just like drops. He goes, lift your arm so she knows when you're out.
Yeah.
And then the guy's arm just drops. He goes limp. The instructor then like grabs his ankles and does the whole, you know. And then the guy wakes up. He goes, "What happened? What happened?" He goes, "You had a short dream. It was quick. It's over. You're in the gym." The guy's just like completely stunned.
Oh yeah.
But it's
you have
like,
no clue where you are when you wake up. You're like, and for a few minutes there, you're like in it. It's so weird.
Yeah, I've never had that yet. I've had You've had
it close, yeah?
I've had the curtains start to close.
Yeah.
I've had shoulder ripped out of my arm.
Yes.
I've had a couple of other injuries, but that I should have tapped on. But I haven't been choked out yet. Tonight could be the night. Tonight could be the night. I think on that note, we should probably wrap this up.
Sounds good, man.
Get heading over there. Jeremy Brand. Thank you very much, Professor Jeremy.
Thanks for having me, man. Blue belt mark.
Yeah. One day. All right. Much love. Peace out. See you guys next Monday. Love you all. Bye.